Yeah. So, here's the topic. A little while ago, I read a paper for class. The class was Language of Sex and Gender in American Culture. And this paper reminded me of an incredible take from multiple years ago that has been on my mind ever since. And it will not surprise you to find out that it was a Redditor who had this take. They were arguing that respecting trans people's pronouns is ableist because it's too much cognitive load or like mental labor or whatever, or to remember all these pronouns. And like you said, Wednesday, yeah, either it was in bad faith, poking fun at ableism discourse, or it's real, in which case, like that also wouldn't be too surprising. Like, either way, I feel like it's... I feel like it's okay to assume good faith here. Because, like, just for the sake of argument, I'm gonna assume that they were being serious. So, yeah, anyway, this paper talked about the Swedish neopronoun hen, which is kind of like the singular they in English, but it also doesn't have much ambiguity with the plural they. Like, it's an unambiguously singular pronoun. It was introduced some years ago, like by activism movements, and these researchers whose names I'm about to butcher because they are Swedish, and I am a filthy Anglophone. They are Vergusen, Parnamets, Renström, and Gustafsson. And what they did was they hooked a bunch of people up to an eye-tracking machine, and they tested how long they took to read sentences with all kinds of pronouns associated with all kinds of words which are gendered differently. And the thing about this is, like, they specifically took different kinds of gendering of words. Like, because, like, some words are gendered, like, as part of the definition of the word. And then some are gendered, like, because of stereotypes. And so, like, the key takeaway here was that people did actually take significantly longer. Not significantly longer. The opposite of that. I'm reading off a script, you see. Cut that out, editors. I don't have editors. Damn it. Anyway, the key takeaway here is that people did, in fact, take longer to read sentences with hen. But how much longer, you may wonder? 43 milliseconds. I'll repeat that for emphasis. 43 milliseconds longer than other gendered pronouns in grammatically traditional or stereotypical places. So that's nothing? Like this person who said that pronouns are just too much mental labor was, even if they were being serious, kind of maybe just a little bit full of shit. And granted, there's like one caveat to these findings. Like one thing that could sway things differently. Like these researchers couldn't find any participants who were entirely unfamiliar with hen. The neopronoun that they were researching. like, based on how they talk about it, at most they had people who knew about it but never encountered it. And, like, even though there is some amount of bigotry toward hen in some Swedish speakers, nobody involved in the experiment had that level of bigotry. So, like, we don't really know anything about how ideological bias might affect that understanding either. There. So, there are issues with this research. Not issues, but, like, limitations with this research. But, generally speaking, it seems like both singular they as well as just straight up neopronouns are not an issue at all, because, like, they also didn't really look at what am I saying, like they also looked at like mismatching pronouns to gendered nouns. So, like, they had the Swedish equivalent of he, and they matched that with the Swedish word for queen. And again, we saw that like 43 milliseconds or so. So, like, even if we're talking about, like, binary trans people with he or she pronouns, even in cases like that, we see that things aren't that difficult, actually. So, yeah, it's interesting for sure. All right. And like what we said before about, like what I said before about like words that are gendered differently, like words for things like this are like, they didn't give a specific what do we want to call it? Like, they didn't give a particular I am fumbling here now that I'm done with my notes. Right. Like, they didn't give a they did blah, 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 blah. I am stupid. So what I'm trying to say is they didn't give like a technical jargony term for stereotypically gendered not pronouns, nouns. So, like, we're just calling them stereotypically gendered. Like, they did give a pretty decent like, they called nouns that are gendered as like part of their definition lexically gendered. And like an example of a word like that would be like queen or king.